అమ్మ అడిగారు కదా అంటే రాజకీయాల్లోకి ఎవరు రాలేకపోతున్నారు ఇలా అని చెప్పేసి. దానికి పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నేను అనుకుంటున్నానన్న. ఎక్కడో నల్లమల్లో ఉండి మిమ్మల్ని చూసి నేను ఆ సమస్యల పట్ల మాట్లాడి ఒక సేనతో సేనాని ప్రోగ్రాంలో మాట్లాడి దాని ఇంపాక్ట్ తెలంగాణ జనసేన మున్సిపల్ ఎలక్షన్లో ఒక 85 మెంబర్స్ దాకా ఆ ఇంపాక్ట్ వెళ్ళి వాళ్ళు కంటెస్ట్ చేసేలాగా చేసింది అని అంటే జెన్జీకి ఉన్న శక్తి ఎలాంటిది అని అంటే అది పర్ఫెక్ట్ పట్టుకున్న పొలిటీషియన్ అన్న నాయకుడు ఎవరు అని అంటే అది మీరే. ఇంతమందికి ఇన్స్పిరేషన్ ఇచ్చారు అంటే అది మీరే అన్న. నేను ఇంకా ఇంత గట్టిగా ఎందుకు మాట్లాడుతున్నానంటే అన్న, మొన్న జరిగిన తెలంగాణ మున్సిపల్ ఎలక్షన్స్లో మహబూబ్ నగర్ మున్సిపల్ కార్పొరేషన్లో 24 ఇయర్స్ గోనెల భరద్వాజ్ అని ఒక అబ్బాయి లీడ్ తీసుకొని 18 మెంబర్స్ని కంటెస్ట్ చేయించిండన్న. ఆ అబ్బాయి ఇక్కడే ఉన్నాడన్న, మీరు ఓకే అంటే ఒకసారి ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ చేస్తాను. అండ్ అలాగే మహేష్ పెంటాల అని చెప్పేసి అన్న సిరిసిల్ల నుంచి బలంగా నిలబడి అతడి నుంచి ఆటుపోట్లు ఎదురైనా సరే నేను నిలబడతా అని చెప్పేసి కొంతమంది వెనకాల ఒక్కడే ధైర్యంగా నిల్చున్నాడన్న. ఆ అన్న కూడా లక్కీగా మరి దేవుడు ఇక్కడ మమ్మల్ని అందరిని ఒకే ప్లాట్ఫామ్ పైకి పిలిపించుకున్నాడు. అన్న కూడా ఇక్కడే ఉన్నారు. అన్న ఒక్కసారి మీరు పైకి అంటే రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ అంటే బాధ్యత, కమిట్మెంట్ ఇవన్నీ ఉన్న యువత ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో వాళ్ళు రాజకీయాల్లోకి ఆటోమేటిక్గా వచ్చేస్తారన్న. వాళ్ళ ఇంట్లో పెట్టి కూర్చోంటే వాళ్ళు కూర్చోలేరు. మా వల్ల కాదు అది. ఒకటికి అన్యాయం జరుగుతుందనంటే ఖచ్చితంగా మేము మాట్లాడతాం. మేము ఆ రోజు నైట్ అన్నం కూడా తిన్నా కూడా మా కడుపులో డైజెస్ట్ అవ్వదు, సరిగ్గా నిద్రపోలేం. ఎన్నో రాత్రులు అరే మాలంటోడు ఎక్కడ దొరుకుతారా అని చెప్పి అన్వేషిస్తూ ఇప్పటికీ నేను ఈ మున్సిపల్ ఎలక్షన్స్లో ఉన్న 100కు పైగా జెన్యూన్ కమిటెడ్ జన సైనిక్స్ని పట్టుకున్నాను నేను. అంటే వాళ్ళకి ఎంకరేజ్మెంట్ కావాలా. ఆ ఎంకరేజ్మెంట్ ఎక్కడ దొరుకుతుందంటే అది కేవలం జనసేన పార్టీలోనే దొరుకుతుందన్న. సో ఆ ఎంకరేజ్మెంట్కి కారణం ఎవరు అంటే అల్టిమేట్గా ఎక్కడొచ్చి ఈ పాయింట్ ఏ అవుతుంది అని అంటే అది కేవలం పవన్ కళ్యాణ్ గారి దగ్గర వచ్చి మాత్రమే ఆ పాయింట్ అవుతుందన్న.
థ్యాంక్ యూ శివ. The question you asked, right? How do you encourage Gen Z as leaders, no? And I would like to introduce him. He's around 22 years.
24 అన్న.
24, okay, 24. నువ్వు నన్ను కలిసినప్పుడు ఎంత 17?
17, 18 ఉంటాను.
He met me when he was 17. And what I believe, the capability of Gen Z, he is one of a classic example, and I could see him as a great example. He doesn't come from not even urban backgrounds. He doesn't even come from urban backgrounds. He doesn't. He stays in a small Gudamanda.
Pentana.
Okay. A small habitat somewhere in deep Nalmala forest. Phone connections, no phone connections, nothing. It's very interior. Tiger reserve lo kada.
Amrabad Tiger Reserve anna. Amrabad Tiger Reserve.
He stays in his habitat is in the Tiger Reserve. One day, why I believe in Gen Z is, looking at him is one of the example. He was in intermediate, I think, intermediate second year and no. He came all the way. He was out of my office. When I was getting into the office, someone was with himself and his friend. I looked at them. What are you guys doing? Their commitment was not even for them, not even for their family. It is for their village and for their environment around. The uranium is being excavated and entire habitats are going to get polluted. And I don't know how to speak in English. I don't know Hindi. But yet I want to do something. Imagine him. I want to give you, what's your name? Volleyball. What's your name? Shruti. He is one of the examples which I want to tell you. You're scared that, a part of you is scared, right? Like, would I be targeted or would I be highlighted? He comes from you can sit down. He comes from, as I told you, an interior wildlife zone, a small habitat. His entire thought was to safeguard his village from environmental hazards. He didn't have money. He hardly had food to eat, but he had just around 100 rupees or something, 150, just to come and go back. He didn't have the money to take an auto. He didn't have anybody to drop him. He came by walk around from main road. He came interior, when he walked interior of the roads for 5 kilometers. His thought was to make sure his village will be saved. That's the only thought he had. So when I met him, I didn't know. I was in 2019. I lost my election. In fact, I was more in my, I don't know what the hell I should do. And he is seeking answers or strength from a guy who has failed in elections. But what moved me was his commitment. The moment I met him, I said I want to do something for him. That one stepping out of his comfort zone, he came all the way to Hyderabad. Somehow he believed that by reaching out to me, something will happen. I don't know what made him to believe. Quite strange for me even till today. But he moved the entire Telangana state political landscape. That one move. Because of that one move, then the CM and everything, they came together when we had a multiple roundtable. We had one roundtable conference with all the parties. Parallelly in assembly, they withdrew the exploring the uranium mining there in his Adilabad forest zone.
Nallamala, sir.
Nallamala. So point I want to make here is, if we are committed, he doesn't know how to tweet, he doesn't know how to speak in English, he doesn't know, but he came out of his comfort zone. He's just 24 right now. When he met me, he was 17. And I believe in Gen Z because of seeing examples like that, seeing models like that, seeing who are able to do something, and I feel they are able to come in all walks of life. I think that's what I would like to introduce him today. He's Shiva, and he comes from a tribal background, and he is an environmentalist, and he really fights for his environment around. And a round of applause to him, please. So, thank you. And one day I would like to see him, send him to Parliament. Hope one day it happens. Hope one day he gets into assembly, one day he goes into assembly. Imagine, this kind of individual should become future leaders in another 20 years from now. So, హృదయం పోగొట్టుకోకుండా ఉండు, ఆ మనసు పోగొట్టుకోకుండా, ఆ ఫైటింగ్ స్పిరిట్ పోగొట్టుకోకుండా.
ఆ వ్యక్తిత్వం మీ నుంచే నేర్చుకున్నాను నేను.
Thank
మీరు ఏ విధంగా అయితే అడవి ప్రాంతాల్లోకి వెళ్ళి నిలబడగలుగుతున్నారో ఆ విధంగా నేను ఎందుకు నిల్చోలేనని చెప్పేసి అన్న.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, అన్న.
Next question.
So in Tamil Nadu, it's been a very big political debate, sir. So nowadays, youths all across India, so they are more interested in civilization roots. So at this time, how you plan to carry out the Sanatana Dharma to Gen Z and make them relevant, make them to understand about the Sanatana Dharma today, sir?
So, for me, yeah. You finish your question?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So you can sit. So what I believe in is when it talks about religion or culture, every country has its own culture which they should respect, no matter whichever country. It could be Middle East, it could be any country, you name it. They have their own cultural traditions. So in the same way, our country has its own cultural traditions. When I'm talking about cultural tradition, doesn't mean that I disrespect others. I have a lot of respect for other religions, but the problem is we're being fed in the last few decades. Maybe, I don't know, we can go dig back into 18th century also, but let us talk about for the last 5 decades especially. When you talk about your own culture, they feel it is uncomfortable for a lot of people, which I don't see it. If you talk about other than this particular tradition, rest are okay, but if you talk about the prevailing culture, or which is instrumental in this, the backbone of this nation, and I feel somehow people feel they put a religious tag to it. Don't look at as you cannot take out the culture in you. For example, the villain is a representation by Arthur Schopenhauer. It was quoted in, I think, in volume 1. He says, they put a question, and he states in that book, a lot of European, this kind of, the belief system there is coming into India, and they're trying to change the core of India. And he says, you cannot change India, the core culture of India. It is like changing, hitting firing a bullet to a cliff. Instead of you changing India, if you want to take your values, your cultural values back into India, and you're trying to transform them, it is like firing a bullet to a cliff. Instead of you changing them, they're going to have a fundamental changes in the European thinking. That's how he designed the traditional dharma of this nation. This country never, there are many ways, it's individuals. If you say people find a lot of flaws with the Sanatana Dharma and all, which I don't say it, it is like this. In letter and spirit, when people talk about constitution, it was done by hundreds of people. B.R. Ambedkar ji was the chairman. A lot of eminent leaders had done with a lot of thought process and everything. It is the implementation of constitution in its true spirit is different, and the written word is different. In the same way, Sanatana Dharma, in its core, it is great. It is very flexible, it is very welcoming and everything. But that does not mean it is, when certain people has done mistakes, that does not mean you have to hate the core Dharma itself, which I find fault with that. So when I'm trying to say that, and a lot of people won't like it. But Gen Z should understand, don't believe my words. Let us not have partiality, giving more scope for other religion, not for Sanatana Dharma, which I feel it is unfair. If you'll go to Singapore, I don't know, I'm not a mad fanatic Hindu. I'm not, I don't want to disrespect any religion. For me, I don't do for votes. I said, my concern is, why should I speak about Sanatana Dharma today when there was no need? Because the need came in such a way, if people keep on abusing one Sanatana gods of Hindu Dharma, I wanted to say, don't do it. You don't have the guts to talk about other religions, don't do the same thing about Hindu Dharma. That's all my question is. Don't get into traditions. If I come into your house, I think I'm supposed to take out my chappals and come inside. And I said, just because I'm okay,